Here we go then. So I'm letting the cat out of the bag. We've been doing this liquid gold from Custom Paints on a very, very large 3D print. And here he is. We're calling him Neptune. I call him Aquaman or Jason Momoa. And he's massive. Look at him. I'm 6'1", and he's probably 6'2", 6'3". So I'm going to jump into the video. Because it is a 3D print, I want my eye on star. I want to get the anti-static gun on this and just go to town. I've cut most of it out because you don't really need to be watching me fly around him with my anti-static gun. But 3D prints are essentially raw plastic once they're cured and finished and stuff. So we don't want any static trapped in here. If you look at how complex he is, there's no room for error. I don't want to be coming in and cleaning and trying to denib because I haven't took my time to make sure this is going to be as good as possible. So this print is, like I say, it's like 2 meters tall. We printed it in 3 pieces, I think over sort of 3 or 4 days. And he's going to a show in Germany called Formnext, and it's one of the biggest shows in the world for 3D printing, and he's going to be sort of our main attraction. So we need him to be as good as he can be. And we went with a liquid gold over gloss black. They recommend black. So we had this battle. I really, really wanted to airbrush him. I wanted him to look like Jason Momoa, you know, coming up out of the water. Fully airbrushed his face, his scar on his eyebrow and things like that. But it was one of these, with the time restraints and how many projects we've actually got going on, we settled for one colour, which, you know, it's not a bad thing, but I thought to myself, look, I'm not just painting him white or leaving it black or anything like that. Like, let's do something with it. If we're going to do one colour, let me pick a wild colour. And we went with this liquid gold from Custom Paints. And we get it from Specialist Paints in the UK. I believe it's just Custom Paints in America. But doing this, having the transition from the gold to green, that's kind of Aquaman's colours anyway. So when he gets to the show, I want him to steal the show. You know, I want this. I doubt there's going to be any prints this big when we get there. Yes, we done it in 3 pieces. One of the pieces, in fact, was his arm. You know, I think we got 1.2 meters and it's just above his knee that's been glued on. But we got him on. We got him glued together, and I ended up using the sort of black and really, really thick clear coat that we've got just to build him up and hide the transition in his legs and his arms. So let me talk about the painting a little bit, because that's what we're here for, really. I'm using the Fuji HV8 1.3, and this thing's phenomenal. 2-bar, full fan, full fluid, and it paints like a dream anyway. It's a fantastic gun. I'll leave a link in the description for it. We got ours from SP Supplies. And when you're putting a paint on like this, sometimes it can be beneficial to use a mini jet. You can see how complicated this is, and getting in and out underneath his arms and things like that. But at the same time, it's a big volume of area, so I had that choice in my mind. Do I get a mini jet out and try and do it fine in between his legs? And like, I was kind of worried about hitting the pot, the PPS pot off of his legs, and under his arm and stuff, trying to get in there and make sure the coverage was fine. But I've probably not got it in the clip here, but I end up winding the fan in, so it's on jet, and then just using it that way, and that worked really, really well. It's a incredibly versatile gun, and you can see the result here with the liquid gold paint. It's got a lovely transition between the gold and green. But one of the things that I wasn't sure about is I haven't used this brand as much as I would like to have before I got on with this. So I wasn't sure about how many coats to put on, because it is, I mean, here's a good example. Look at his feet. So the paper that he stood on, there's no paint on the floor, so there's no reference of how much is actually going on. You can see here, I believe this is the sort of third coat, maybe sort of a drop coat. But you don't know how much is really going on. You can see the transition now, looking at the light, that it's starting to get on there. There's plenty on there now. But it's one of them. I was happy that it looked right now, and then when we put the clear coat on, it really brought out the colour. So, you know, we were impressed. Everybody that's sort of seen this thing has said, you know, wow. And it's quite imposing as well. Like I say, I'm 6 foot. Some of the people at my work are sort of 5 foot tall, and this thing's massive. So it's one of them. It is an impressive thing to see in the flesh. And you see here, I'm just coming in nicely with a sort of a drop coat, because it's quite, not metal flaky, but it's got quite a lot of flipping in the paint. It's really got that sort of glitter to it. So just by applying the coat nicely here, like a nice drop coat, I want to make sure it's all on there even, and we don't end up with any sort of patchiness. But it's come out fine. And I'm using the Sata X5500 1.3i. It's quite a mouthful. There we go. Got it on the screen. And this thing's phenomenal for clear coat. You can see here, I don't have a regulator on it. I'm pretty sure it's about 2 bar, but every pressure that I've sprayed this gun at, it's performed fantastically. And the thing is, for me, because I'm not doing cars anymore, I'm doing lots of sort of extravagant things like this. I don't need to follow the rules anymore. I'm not held to a standard that, you know, it's going down the road and it's somebody's car and it has to be perfect. So I've got the freedom here to play a little bit. So I'm turning the pressure up, I'm turning it down, I'm trying it out, and I'm just enjoying myself. It's really good to have this sort of freedom, and to work with the kind of people that just say, look, we're going to do it one color. You know, we know you wanted to paint it full color, but you pick the color. You tell us what you think. You need this Sata, then you get this Sata. So it's been phenomenal working where I am, and having that freedom to be able to make choices and decisions on how we're going to move forward with regards to the paint. You see here, I'm just speeding it up on the legs because it's a big old job. Imagine watching it. I think I'd clear coated this thing with 3 coats. But mostly sort of lighter coats, like I was saying before. I'm trying to build it up, because you can't go wrong with this. Imagine if I got a run in the middle of that. How do you fix that? Even on some of the smoother parts, it's not that there's much smoothness on there, but it was one of these things for me. It's just take the time. I'll put 3 on it and just build it up to a point where it's got that kind of gloss. And getting in sort of that wing on the boot there and making sure that it's all even and in between the fingers. I don't know if you've ever tried to paint in between the fingers. Probably not, the majority of us, but it's definitely been a challenge as well, moving on to things like this. But just making sure it's the same thing. All the skill and experience that I've learned over the years from cars has definitely benefited me doing this type of work. It's just, you've got to have that same eye for detail. I do joke in the workshop with the guys, I'm like, it's very different from painting doors and quarter panels and the odd bonnet. So I'm having to be on the ball and actually concentrating to make sure that we're getting the quality that we are used to. And you can see here now, as the colour's starting to build up on his face, you'll start to see some of the transition. And his trident is massive as well, that big... it's fun trying to paint in and out of all the... I think there's like 5 spearheads on there. And just making sure that it's all as good as it can be. Again, this is going to a massive trade show where all the top sort of 3D printing people and everybody in the industry is going to be there, and they're going to look at this thing and just think, wow, this is not... Because it was one of the reasons we chose to print this. It's not the normal thing that they're going to take. Everyone is going to bring technical parts, and they're going to really show off the capability of their printers, whereas we've got the world's sort of largest LCD printer. and it's going to be unveiled at the show, and then we're going to show that we can print things like this. Like, it's a game changer. And you can just see there, I'm transitioning from sort of jet on the gun, under the arms, making sure that I'm just getting in there. And it's one of the good things as well. I think it was it the Sata X5500 where they changed the fan adjustment into like quarter turns. It's so easy to just flick it with your thumb, spray it, get it done, and then move it back to where you want to go. So like I really am. I'm a big Sata fan. I always have been. But they're always sort of been at the higher end of the budget. And it's one of them, but now with some of the technologies they're coming out with, it's pretty cool. I'm gonna have to get hold of. They've got the quick release, sort of fluid adjustment, which is quite interesting. You set it, and you can have it fully open, and then you just push a button, and it will set it to where your settings was. You push the button again, and it opens wide up again. So for something like this, where it is quite detailed and intricate, it could be quite a good thing to have. And you just see here some of the complexity in that trident, trying to make sure that we're getting under there. Just letting the paint do its thing now. And I'd like to sort of open this up in the comments. What's the strangest sort of thing you've ever had to paint? Let me know down below in the comments. What things do you get asked to paint? I've seen some wild stuff, but like a lot of things is like surfboards, and I've seen some really cool skateboards kicking about. But when you get things like this, I still can't believe it when I go to work every day. I'm like, what you got for me today? So let me know in the comments, what's the strangest thing you've been asked to paint? I have to turn the gain down now. It's started raining. The joys of being a YouTuber. Don't know if you hear that. I hope so, if I'm putting it in the video. But it's one of these things for me now. I'm trying to make sure that I can record as much as I can. So if you've got things that you do want to see, I mean, I've still got a few car videos in the background waiting to be uploaded. But I want to start exploring some more technical stuff. So I think I'm going to go into a lot of kind of detailed videos on what specific guns do, sort of polyester guns, primer guns, base, clear, mini jets, and try and be a bit more technical about it instead of just whacking up a video of, you know, here's another one of me painting a car door, again, which is one of the reasons I was quite pleased to come across this job, and we can really start experimenting with different colors and different technologies when it comes to paint. I don't know if you guys have seen, I've just done a UV video. It's only a short one, but you know, UV primer, it can be really good for certain applications. I think really big projects, you know, any sort of repair bigger than the palm of your hand, you're gonna want a high build primer. But I want to start getting into the technical side of paint, and possibly speaking to some of these companies as well, and getting your questions answered. So again, let me know what you think down in the comments, and if there's anything you want me to try out, we'll definitely get on it. And you can see here, just coming in with the second coat, still on the second coat. And that's the thing, this is sped up as well, so you can imagine what it took me in there, just making sure that it's all done. All nice. Take your time. And you can see I'm just trying not to whack the gun off of his arm and stuff. And the thing is as well, we initially when I started priming him and putting him, after we put him together, we put, because he's hollow, we put rods up his feet to make sure that he didn't fall over. And so we found out that he stood freely after we took him in and out of the booth a couple of times, while in between sanding and, like I say, putting his arms and that on. So here, he's not actually bolted down. He's not got the rods up sort of up through his legs and things like that. So I was quite nervous about knocking him over. I mean, like, he can stand and take the sort of air pressure and things like that, but one wrong move and I'd lift my arm up and catch his arm or his trident or something. It could have been a disaster. But again, I'm not... One of the joys about working here is I'm not under pressure to the point where I start knocking things over. I'm sure in the car places, and I've done it a number of times, chucking as much stuff in the oven as you can just to get stuff out the door. Can you put this in? Will that go in there? Oh, will that bumper fit in the corner? In here, I'm not fighting and I'm not knocking stuff over just for a bit of room. So that's always nice. I mean, I do put things in if I can. But it's one of these guys, because I suppose they don't have much paint experience, being a 3D printing company. They trust my judgment, which is one of the reasons I love them. But if I tell them, look, I'm going to paint this on its own, and they get it. This is a big project, and for them, they've got enough time and money and effort and resources put into getting this Aquaman to where he needs to be. So they're not going to make me fill the oven with a bunch of other parts just for the sake of being productive. I mean, we've all got targets and things like that, but when you're doing things of this magnitude, it deserves its own time in the booth, kind of thing. We did have a discussion as well, while I'm trying to think of things to say. We've got more shows coming up in the sort of future, where we might not be under as much time restraint as we are with this one. So we have had a little chat about possibly airbrushing him. So you might see this guy again, hopefully, but at the same time, hopefully not. He looks the part. He really does look well. Looks good. It's just one of them. A lot of people in the workshop were really, really pumped to see this thing painted. You know, as he's massive, everybody can sort of see it as they walk by, and everybody asked the question, "Are you going to airbrush it?" And I really did want to, but if we do get to go to more shows and we're going to take this guy, I think we can airbrush him. We can come back in. I'd like to put the gold on him and all those kinds of things. But the thing is, with a lot of it, can you imagine trying to mask this thing up as well? As good as it sounds, yeah, we should airbrush him. The masking and the detailing and trying to get this thing to where it needed to be. It was going to be a big, big job. I did have a few ideas of sort of shortcuts and doing it certain ways. But in the long run, I think we've done what's right for us. Doing it with the one colour. People were saying as well, you're going to paint his eyes on. And I thought, oh, I could put his eyes in there or something, but he's going to have a green beard, green hair and stuff like that. So those sort of smaller details probably wouldn't have made as much impact as he is, and it could also as well. It could take away from the overall project. I mean, the point of this sort of statue is to sell printers and to sell our services. So it's not, you know, as much as I like to think I'm some sort of hero painter, this isn't all about me, unfortunately. But it's one of them. This guy's here to sell printers and get things going for the company. So I'm happy to be you know, a small part of their journey, putting things like this together. We've got a few other sort of large prints going, not as large as this. Can you imagine if everything I had to paint was this big now? It'd be crazy. But we've got some large prints that are also going to the show that are going to be coming up in the coming weeks. Probably the odd car one scattered in between now, but I wasn't even sure we were going to get to release this one when we did, depending on when you're watching the video. But we've released footage of this at work now, so we've released it to the public at work, so I'm now able to release what, you know, show everybody what I've done. But we are, once they get to the show and they've showed off, you know, once the world's seen what we've been working on, then I'll be able to share a lot more of some of the projects I've been doing, which is really exciting. You see there as well, just the attention, making sure that I'm getting in around that belt, all the different angles. And I did end up spraying this guy with the primer coats in the black and putting the arms and the legs on. I'd been round it once or twice, and I did notice under that belt, if you didn't get the gun at the right sort of angle, you'd end up with like dry spray underneath there. So just making sure that I'm, again, taking my time. Awkward getting on the top of his head up there as well. He's a big old boy, but yeah, just take your time, make sure he's covered. And again, look at the finish on his forehead there that this gun's giving me. We'll go around it now with a bit better lighting, so you can kind of see the effect of this paint. So he looks gold, almost bronze there. And as you move the light around him, he turns green, which is phenomenal. This guy's got some impact. But like I say, drop us a comment and let me know what you think. And we'll see you in the next one.